Welcome, friends. As you can tell from the introduction in my previous video, there are many remarkable things about the Apostle Paul, both historically and metaphysically. In this video, I would like to give you a little bit of background about Paul's 3 missionary journeys. Over the course of 8 years, Paul traveled more than 9,000 miles. And I see that there are basically 3 things that kept Paul on the move. Or we could say that moved the story forward on Paul's missionary journeys. In each case, when he moves from one city to another, one of these 3 things happen. And they are the things that move us forward in our own lives as well. The first type of experience that moves the action forward is getting away from a painful or dangerous situation. Paul has this sense of timing or great friends that help him out. So he was always able to just get out of Dodge just in time to live to preach another day. For example, his preaching in Damascus was such success that the Orthodox Jews were angered and began to plot with the political authorities for his demise. Guards were posted at the gates of Damascus to prevent him from leaving. But some of his converts helped him out. They literally lowered him over the city walls in a basket. Well, this is the first of many narrow escapes for Paul, and he seems to always be just one step ahead of those seeking to undo him. The second thing that moves the action forward is divine guidance or a vision. On one occasion, during the 3rd journey, Paul was in the city of Troas when he had a vision at night. In the vision, he sees a man in Macedonia pleading with him and saying, "Come over to Macedonia and help us out." After he experiences his vision, he immediately sets sail to cross over to Macedonia, being convinced that God has called him to proclaim the good news to the people. The third thing that moves the action forward are times when they just found no resonance with their message. One stop on the journey in the city of Salamis, one of the chief cities in Cyprus, they met with no resistance, but neither was there any interest. So they just decided that they would move on from there as well. So it was always one of those 3 things that kept Paul moving forward on his travels. Moving on to avoid a painful situation or some threat to his safety, or moving on because of clear guidance or a vision, or moving on simply because their message was falling on deaf ears. As I think about it, those are the 3 things that have been what moved me forward in times of change in my own life. How about you? So let's move on to Paul's 2nd missionary journey. On this trip, he traveled 2,800 miles to at least 17 different cities over about 3 years. Some significant things about this journey are that he entered Europe for the first time, and he began his writing career, which of course led to his becoming the single and the largest contributor to the Christian scriptures. An important thing to note is that Paul had many helpers along the way with his ministry, many traveling companions, just as Jesus did with the disciples. And each companion of Paul represents a spiritual quality that increases the effectiveness of the word of truth, which Paul represents. There were different qualities that Paul needed for various legs of his journeys. For example, Barnabas, whose name means son of encouragement, also represents imagination and insight. So for the time he was with Paul, he served those purposes for Paul's ministry. And the change in traveling companions meant that that Barnabas had fulfilled his purpose. His work was complete. Or perhaps Paul had developed that quality within himself sufficiently that he no longer needed a traveling companion to provide that quality. Can you see how that's been true for you as well with friends and relationships that have come in and out of your life? Now I want to speak for a few minutes about Paul's third missionary journey. At this point, Paul is 47 years old. He's been at this work for 15 years, and this will be his third and final missionary journey. We know that the number 3 is a very important number spiritually and metaphysically. It represents completion and wholeness, spirit, soul, and body, mind, idea, and expression. There are many instances of the number 3 recurring on this journey. A few places where Paul stays in one place for 3 months at a time. There's a wonderful story about when Paul is preaching late into the night, and one of his listeners falls asleep, falls out the window, and falls 3 stories down to the ground. And on the third journey, Paul writes 3 letters, 1st and 2nd Corinthians and Romans, considered to be among his most important writings. Then there are 3 people that are very important, play an important role in the success of this journey: Priscilla and Aquila, and an Egyptian teacher named Apollos. The theme that I see on Paul's journey is that the truth will not be denied, that when we stand firm in our faith, when we trust our guidance and our instincts, that no matter what tests and trials may come, it will always be the case that truth is eventually revealed. And when the truth is revealed, healing and transformation happen. So I'd like to invite you to think about, how do you relate to Paul's journeys? How are these stories happening in the world around us today? And how are these stories like events in your own life? I look forward to our next Collaborate session together. Blessings.